Hi everybody, Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts here. Happy Friday. I am just going to hop over on YouTube, make sure, yep, alright, I am live where I am supposed to be. So we are going to close that out because I can see comments in StreamYard, provided I remember to check. So happy Friday, happy July 5th. Hope everybody is having a good day and that you had a good holiday or day off or whatever your day looked like yesterday, that it was a good one. I'm a little low energy this morning. I'm trying to combat that. We have two very noise phobic dogs. So unfortunately, July 4th here in the States is not the happiest or most fun of holidays for us. And we had some late night, well, I mean, not late night, but until 11 o'clock, fireworks in the subdivision that just happened to sort of catch the dog's ears right around bedtime. And so I was up late, and I'm night owl by nature. And so if I'm not in bed before 10, my night owl tendencies kick in. So then when I do go to bed, I'm awake because regardless of medicine and all the things, like, I'm awake. I'm just awake. So anyway, so it was a rough night. And then we were in the middle of a rewatch of Sons of Anarchy, and we watched the series finale last night. So of course I was bawling like baby. So I have a headache from that. So it's you know, it's a bit of a rough Friday, but that's okay because I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about what I'm going to show you today. Just know that if I seem a little low energy, it's not because I don't want to be here. I would do this all day, all the time, every day if I could. It's just sort of life. So my Craft With Me Friday last Friday was recorded using the Dixie Belle Crackle that we're going to be using today, but I had some audio problems. And so I took the video down and I was going to do a voiceover, and I never had time to do that. So I decided for this Friday, we would just do what I did last Friday again, only this time a little bit better because I kind of know what I'm doing. So this is a project that I started on last week. Lighting angles are weird. And ended up finishing once I kind of figured out like how all the crackle stuff actually works. So we're going to be doing a couple of things related to this today. We're going to be doing some Halloween and maybe one particular fall project. One of these days I'm going to start getting ready for lives the night before instead of running around like a crazy woman the morning of, or, you know, the couple hours before. And then sort of like, ooh, maybe I'll do this, and ooh, maybe I'll do this. And I mean, that's okay. That's kind of fun too. And, you know, sometimes having things not completely planned out can be a lot of fun, but yeah, running around. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, 6 different surfaces sitting here, and like multiple transfers and all kinds of paint and paste because I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do. There's going to be some drying and painting and drying and painting today too. Part of that's because I, you know, didn't decide till this morning, but part of that is from what I've seen with people using the crackle technique, whether you use the Dixie Belle Crackle or not. The more layers you create, the more crackle you get, and the more depth and definition and texture you get in your project. So we're going to do a little bit of that too. We're going to do sort of one thing that's just sort of simple, basic layer. I also want to try to crackle the actual chalk paste, not just the paint that, you know, we're painting on, the surface that we're painting on. But then we're also going to try a couple of things with some multiple layers. So I already started. I have this surface, the surface that I found at a, got a really bad glare. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see something. my overhead light can create some glare. I usually have it on because I think it's better light, but that's not what's giving me glare. Okay, well, so anyway, this was just a little wood block. It says guest book. It's something I found at a little peddler's mall, and I painted it a little bit ago just to get it started with this folk art metallic paint. So I have some purple and I have some green, good Halloween colors. And that's not completely dry, so we'll do that in a minute. And I'm hoping just by adding layers, because we're going to put some black on this, that'll cover the guest book anyway without having to really worry about multiple layers of paint to do that. Okay, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Oh, and there's my dogs who are saying hi. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. If you are watching and have questions, throw them up in the comments. I will remember to check that. This is still a little bit wet, so I'm just going to dry it real quick. I don't know what they are doing up there, but my dogs and our son sound like a herd of elephants right now. Okay. Oh, I didn't bring anything. So you're supposed to stir the crackle, and I forgot. And after the last time I used it, I meant to find a stir stick, like a paint stir stick, because I know we have like a gazillion floating around our house somewhere. And I forgot to do that, to figure out what I'm going to use to stir that. And I'm going to go ahead and start first because you want to move kind of quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint this black. And then while the black paint is still wet, we're going to add the crackle. So I'm just going to use my detail tool here to kind of stir this up real good. Sometimes I feel like I need my camera on the other side of me because I'm right-handed. So a lot of times when I do stuff, my right hand blocks the camera view. Okay. Some black paint here. And figure out which brushes I want to use for which. Alright, so I'm going to use this sort of shorter, stiff bristle brush to put the black paint on. And getting black paint everywhere. And I don't really care that whether or not the black paint covers everything, because we're going to crackle this, right? So I want a little bit of that purple to show through. So the goal for the black is not exactly full coverage, I guess is my point. Okay, so there's that. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to use this sort of longer, softer bristle brush. And I have a little fan over here on me. I'm going to turn it away because you want all this to move fast. So you're going to take the crackle and just spread it. Now I'm getting black paint in my jar of crackle there. Just going to spread it down over your surface. Now this is a pretty big surface. It might have been better for me to kind of start smaller. Because you need to get heat on this crackle before it dries. You also want to make sure that you kind of try to move in one motion. Don't back brush, and don't necessarily go over where you've already added crackle, because if you get too much of it in one spot, it won't dry really well, it won't crackle really well. I have to hold this from the bottom. Now I can see in the light some places where I haven't gotten any crackle, and I mean that's fine. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be. Okay, so we're gonna do this. So the trick is high heat. But you don't want your heat tool so close that you start to bubble your paint. So that's a little bit of I don't know, art to it, for lack of a better word. Trying to figure out how close to get it for it to start to crackle, but not so close that you're bubbling your paint. No, I think I just did this backwards. I think the crackle goes on first. Wait, no, that's not right. No, I think I did it right. Paint first, then crackle. So we're starting to get a little bit up here. That purple underneath might have still been too wet. And to be honest, that black might have started to dry a little too much. So there's definitely an art to this. Oh, you know what? I know why this isn't working. I know why this isn't working. I know why this isn't working. Wipe this off. So I think this surface had a gloss on it. Okay, I'm remembering now. That if you're going to use a wood surface, you need to make sure that it doesn't have a finish on it, because the paint needs to soak into the wood for the crackle effect to work. And that surface had I'm pretty sure had kind of a glossy finish on it. Okay, note to self. There. All is not lost with that one. I can, yeah, I can still use that. I can sand, once that crackle dries, I can sand it a little bit and get that crackle off, get some of that paint off, and just kind of even it out with paint over it and use it. Not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to do this, and I want to get that same purple and black design. So I'm going to get some of my purple paint again. Ooh. Ah! Gloppy. Yikes. Oh, shoot. Okay. This is kind of old paint. You know, if you're not making a mess, you're not doing it right. And I know if I'm not making a mess, I am certainly not doing it right. I am a messy, messy, messy crafter. If you've watched my videos before, you've heard me say that before. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. So what I want here is for the black to crackle and show the purple through. So we're not going to crackle the purple. I'm just going to paint this surface. Now, if I wanted this surface to really be solid purple, I'd have to paint it multiple coats, because this wood is just going to soak this right up. But the purple is just going to be an underneath layer. And so we are not real worried about it completely covering this wood. Apologize. I know watching somebody paint something like this is not exactly the most entertaining. What I might end up doing before I put the recording of this on YouTube is edit out some of this stuff. So if you're with me live, I appreciate you bearing with me on this. That's painting that other surface ahead of time was an attempt to not make you all watch this, because I'm going to have to dry this. Oops. But fortunately, this will dry pretty quickly. So pop that down. Drying tool. So I would, you know, I've got the next several Fridays planned out for my Craft With Me Fridays, as we're getting closer to the fall season, and we're thinking about all those things. You know, I've got some fall projects in mind, and I have some just sort of long-term projects that I wanted to do in mind as well. But I would absolutely love to hear from you if there are things that you are interested in. If you've seen any of my other like shorts and you would like to see a longer video on how I did that or what the project looked like when it was finished, anything like that. I'll be doing some paper crafting videos as well. I'm trying to get back to my paper crafting roots. And then also incorporating some chalk into paper crafting. Actually, one of my upcoming videos is going to be doing that. Starting to get more into some mixed media as well. So I definitely welcome any ideas, suggestions. I take requests. Looks like I might have some spots down here. They're still a little wet. Oh, maybe not. Okay. All right. I'm going to double check myself here, right? Paint first, then crackle. Yep. Okay. That was right. Okay. So, but I am going to... Right, this paint brush off. So, we're going to do this again. And this is a smaller surface, which is better. It'll go faster anyway. Black paint. Go over this purple. Again, I don't really care if it like completely covers or not. Kind of want this black coat to be thin though. So you want to make sure that you spread that paint out really well. Darkness. Trying to figure out how to hold something and paint. I mean, again, like I get paint all over my hands anyway, but okay, so we have that. And now we are going to take the crackle, and I probably also put it on a little bit too thick the last time. So I'm going to try to do that a little better this time. And I am, bad habit. Well, not a bad habit, but just habit from when you paint, you typically go back over where you've painted previously just to spread the paint and cover where you didn't go all the way through. And with the crackle, you really don't want to do that because then you're adding a layer and making it thicker, and the thicker the crackle is, the harder it is to get it to dry and get it to do what you want it to do. So, okay. I'm just going to leave that be. And now we're going to dry it. Sorry. Okay, so this is the problem that I was having the first time, where I was following instructions on the bottle, as well as, you know, kind of doing some chatting in Facebook Messenger with some of my top team members. And I was doing everything everybody was telling me to do and how everybody was telling me to do it. And it was not working. Then I stopped my video. I went and watched another top member's video, our team leader actually, followed her exactly and got it to work. And here today, I am back live trying to do this, and it is not working. Now, one of the things I knew I was doing the first time that I was doing wrong was I wasn't using the highest setting on my PC, which I am doing today. But I am trying not to bubble my paint. By holding it too close. But I should be getting, and I am bubbling my paint in some places, I can already tell. And I should be getting some good crackle here. Listen to this. I can't tell if it's the paint bubbling or the crackle bubbling. Okay. What I also don't know is if the problem is the metallic paint. Okay. We're going to try this one more time. We're going to do something a little different. If I can't get this to work, then I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to go back and watch Tarina's video one more time. Try it again. And if I try it again, I'm going to record that. I don't know if it's just the phenomena of being observed that's messing me up here. Okay, so my question now is it the metallic in this paint? My other question is, I think maybe still my crackle layer is too thick. What I know is that I don't want the black paint to be dry. I know that, right? So, oh, I just stuck my finger in that pink paint. Okay. So we're just going to use this black paint, and I'm going to make sure this is nice and thin. And I'm not even going to finish painting it, right? So we're going to take the crackle. And I'm going to get, yes, I'm brushing over it again, but it's my fear is that it's too thick. I'm trying to thin that out, and I'm not sure that that's actually going to help me any. Okay, I'm going to do that. Leave that. Going to keep going. I'm still not getting any effects here. So this layer of crackle was a lot thinner. It started to dry much faster. So I know that's right. I'm gonna try something. We're gonna do something different. Because this is the only thing that I can think of that I would have done differently, that I haven't tried, and that I just wasn't remembering. Okay, so we're gonna add the crackle, and maybe this was it, and maybe this is, because this is not what it says to do on the jar. The jar says to add the paint and then put the crackle on top of it. And y'all, I have a whole mess of black paint now inside the jar of crackle. I have no idea how I'm gonna get out. Okay, and as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that this looks more like what it looked like when I got it right. There we go. That's the problem. Now, again, I'm still kind of getting a little too close. I'm bubbling my paint. But we are getting a little bit of crackle in here finally. What I don't know but I don't remember because I wasn't recording it when I did it. Is how exactly I got this without bubbling my paint. Okay, so if you all will hang with me, for just a smidge longer. Put my hands on. What I also don't know is that, like, this was hot because I had dried it on, you know, on both sides. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get all that black paint out of that crackle jar, but I'll worry about that later. That's tomorrow's problem. Okay, so we're going to set this aside, and what I'm going to do is we're going to take this. Not big enough. The bigger one. I just want to make sure that I have, no, that'll work. Okay. So we're going to take this. It's just a Chalk Couture wood block. And I'm going to wipe this off again. Okay. So we are going to take Crackle, and I am not going to back brush. I am not going to double layer. I'm going to try to make this as thin as possible. Right? And as you can see, I'm going to have to figure out how to get that black out of there. And we are going to thin layer of black paint. And heat. There we go. We got a lot of black paint there. I'm gonna lay that flat. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Alright. Yep, you can see that in the video. So some of the white is showing through because I'm drying the black, and you know that's naturally going to show through anyway, even if I didn't have the crackle on here, just the act of drying the black paint. But right in here, we are getting some good crackle in a few places, and that is the effect of the Dixie Belle. So I'm trying to keep my heat tool high so that it's not going to bubble my paint, but low enough that it's getting some good heat on that crackle, which is a little bit of a trick. Also because I put the black paint on a little thick, and because I moved the gloss, so you can see I've got some globs of black paint, but that's okay because what we're going to do as we add layers to this is we'll end up sanding some of that out. Okay, so we've got some decent, not great, not as good as my other project, but it's a start. So what I'm gonna do I'm going to let that dry. I want to try this again because I want to make sure that A, I can effectively show you all how this works, and B, that I know what I'm doing so that when I go to do this for a project, I don't end up messing it up 15 times. We're going to stick with black. I'm going to try to get more of this black out of my jar of crackle here, which would also explain why you don't use the paint first and then the crackle, because I now have black paint all inside my jar. So I'm going to try this time. I'm going to go a little slower in putting the crackle on. Try this time to, without back brushing or going over a second time, just making sure I'm getting a good thin layer everywhere. What I'd ultimately like to do, probably going to be a little bit longer than an hour today, is get a transfer design on one of these because it looks really cool. Okay. So I also want to try to go a little bit thinner with my paint. And I'm not going to hold this up when I start to dry it because that's going to make the paint spread and glob. Okay, so we're getting some here, not great. Now I'm going to have to do some asking around about heat tools because if I hold this in too close, it bubbles my paint. But I know that crackle needs a decent amount of heat really fast in order to work really well. And somehow on that pumpkin wishes and harvest, pumpkin kisses and harvest wishes, I managed to get the right distance. And I don't think that my lower setting on my heat tool is hot enough. I know that that won't. I know that that won't bubble the paint, but I don't think it's actually hot enough. And it is actually bubbling the paint. I don't think it's hot enough to make the crackle work. All right. So what I want to do What I want to do is I'm going to take a cloth, dry cloth, and I'm going to wipe out these globs, right? Because I want to try another layer. Y'all are probably like, okay, we're done. Like, we're giving up. I'm not. I'm going to figure out how to make this work. And I'm here and I'm live. And I think part of it is because I got it to work once. Should be able to get it to work again. And so if y'all are watching live, when I'm done, in the description, if I fix it, if I figure it out, I will put that timestamp in the notes so you can come back and just start watching from that moment. So yeah, I don't want to sand this because I don't want to actually pull any adhered paint off. I was just trying to get those globs off. And we're gonna try to use this purple again because I'm curious. Woo! Okay, do this and then we're gonna have to throw this aside. And then that paint might have to be done for. Very gloppy. Okay. I'm curious about how this works with this metallic paint. I'm also wondering if that brush was a problem because I didn't use that brush the last time. All right, so there, crackle. Maybe a little, might have been a little too thin the last time. There's a lot of different things that you can use for this crackle effect. Mod Podge, School Glue, this. My chalk team lead has talked about using Vaseline and chapstick. So today's little experiment is kind of making me want to, in a future Craft With Me Friday, take all of those various crackle mediums and test them out. Because it's all about having different tools in your tool chest. Okay, so I am not getting any crackle effect with that metallic paint. And that black underneath there was good and dry. So that's interesting. So we're going to put this one aside. Now that's still going to be a very cool thing once it completely dries. Not really sure I'll be able to talk over that or anything like that. But it'll still look pretty neat. Okay, so we're going to put these brushes aside. I'm going to put this in there, and what we're going to do with this one, which is nice and dry, we're just going to do white. And I promise y'all, if this doesn't work, I promise I'm done. I promise. At least done with the live. And I will let you all get back to your Friday. And maybe later this weekend, you might have an update. Let's see. I need one of my bigger paintbrushes. So we're going to use white on top of this, just regular acrylic. Thin coat. I can see in the light where and how it's spreading. I think part of the trick with this is how much crackle you get on your surface. Too much, not enough. Okay, I'm just gonna spread this white paint. Don't really care if it's everywhere. Okay. There. There we go. All right. Okay. So that is, I'm trying to get it where it's not, that is much closer to this, right? Obviously we got really great crackle right in here, a little bit up here, some places where I don't have any. Now there's obviously the texturizer there, so maybe I didn't get enough paint there. Maybe I spread the paint too thin. Not sure. Now, this crackle itself does take a minute to dry, and if I continue to try and dry it with the heat tool, I'm afraid it's going to bubble the paint. But there is something else that I am curious about. I want to know if you put crackle on top of chalk paste, will it crackle the chalk paste? Right? So we're going to try that. I'm curious. And sorry, I'm thinking I can't use either one of those, and I don't want to use that box, so we're going to use this, and I'm going to paint it. We'll just use this to paint it. Maybe black paint's a little dry. So we're just going to take some black paint as a background for this. Because I'm 99.9% sure if you Mod Podge over a chalk paste design and, you know, take heat to it, it will crackle the design. And while I think, you know, the crackle effect in surfaces and stuff is great, I want to be able to create that effect in my designs. So we're going to take this and we're going to dry this paint real quick. Now, ideally, if you were going to chalk over acrylic paint, you're going to want to let that paint cure for 24 hours. I don't have time for that right now. I want to do this right now. I'm going to use this. So this is part of the autumn release that comes out on Tuesday. It's called Witches Watching. And the surfaces that I've been using for the most part are the simple shapes. They come in packs of 2, brown and white, and they come with these little stands. I was painting this one earlier. So what I'm going to hopefully do here is I'm going to use this Please Take One, and put it on this. And then you could put that in a stand and have that sitting in front of, you know, a bowl of candy at a party, or say, you know, you can't be out handing out candy to trick-or-treaters on Halloween. You know, you set your bowl out on your porch and you could sip this with it. Not that I'm saying that having it out there would actually make anybody only take one. But oftentimes I'm not able to be out with trick-or-treaters on Halloween, and so I'll put our treat bags out with a little sign that says, you know, please just take one so everybody gets something. So, I mean, would definitely use something like this just so it's out there. I will say, I think the adults in our subdivision who take the kids out trick-or-treating are pretty good about, you know, if they see that a bowl or something is just sitting out, about making sure the kids just take enough for their group and not, you know, not end up like completely emptying out the bag before everybody's had. I just got black paint all over that. Everybody's had an opportunity to get something. And the kids in our subdivision, I have to say, are actually really very, very polite and courteous. So what I would really love to do with this is to, you know, paint another layer on it, crackle that, and then put this on top. But one, we've had some issues getting the crackle to work today. Two, the crackle takes a while to dry, and I'm already over an hour, and so we're just gonna do this. I'm just buzzing the heck out of this. Because I'm not gonna wax this board. Hopefully this will keep some of that black paint from coming up. And I'm going to put this a little close to the top because, yeah, I am going to wax this actually. I've had enough problems today. So if you're chalking on a wood surface, even if it's a chalk surface, or if you're chalking on top of paint or paste, or even ink, if you're using paste on top of ink for some reason, the recommendation is that you use the surface wax. Now, a lot of times I will, and you'll hear other designers talk about, they just buzz the heck out of something. But I really want to test this out really well. And so if I end up pulling up any paste with this, then it might be kind of hard to tell whether the crackle actually works. So I don't want to do that. So you just put on a little bit of that surface wax, rub it in, and then buff it off. It just makes the surface nice and smooth. It makes it easier for this to lift up when you're done. You want to make sure you buff it off really well so that any excess doesn't get into your negative space on your transfer. Get that down so that it doesn't have any bubbles. And I'm going to do something kind of fun here though. I don't think that's straight. Back up a little bit. There we go. I think that's a little better. And maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to do a bit of an ombre effect with this. So ombre is kind of a variation of Hot Mess. So we're going to use Scout, which was the June color of the month, I think. Why am I doing it that way? And Orange Peel. It's a Scout is a green shimmer. And then Orange Peel, which is exactly what it sounds like. Which is a good Halloween color. Orange Peel, Hey Pumpkin, and even the Squeeze that came out in the spring. It's a nice orange color. Those are all great pumpkin kind of colors. And then Superstitious, which was color of the month last year. Just this great, I don't remember if it was October, I think it was October. Just this great spooky Halloweeny looking pinky purple color. Mine's dried out a little bit, so we're gonna put some water in that and stir that up. If you have an old paste jar or an old paste pack that's starting to dry out, you can use mineral water. Not mineral water, distilled water to reactivate it. Just spray slowly, a little bit at a time. Mix it up, add a little more water, mix it up until you get back to the sort of yogurt-like consistency. So as I'm thinking about this, sorry, I'm not talking, thinking, and I'm thinking and not talking. As I'm thinking about this, I'm not really sure this is going to work because I'm going to have to dry the paste before I put the crackle on it. Otherwise, all the paste is going to smear everywhere. And my understanding in how this all works is that both mediums have to be wet. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of this here and a little bit here. I've only done this once before. And so now I'm second guessing myself on what I did, but that's okay. It's fine. As long as I don't mix up my colors in the jar, it's completely fine. A little bit of that there. A little bit of that there. And, ooh, not too much. A bit of that there. And a little bit of that there. We're gonna need more of that. Don't do that. I got green on that one. Okay, so then what we're gonna do, that's not enough. Okay, put some of that there. So what you're trying to do with ombre is just create almost like a striped effect with the colors instead of like everything getting completely blended in. So we're gonna kind of go across like this. And add some more paste. I didn't get enough. And I did it, I went a long way the last time. I don't know if that's what's getting in my head today, or if I'm just in my head now because of the whole crackle ordeal. Okay. I think I got it everywhere on the negative space. We're just gonna pull that up. Oh, that looks really cool. Yeah, that's kind of the effect I was going for. So it's a little different than Hot Mess because the colors take on a bit of a gradation. But that worked out really well, actually. I like how that looks. All right, so we're going to, and man, you're still on live with me. I love you. You're just really hanging in with me today. Oh, I gotta wipe that off. So we got a little bit of Scout on my superstitious jar. There we go. That is the one tricky piece to using, doing Hot Mess or ombre, is really making sure that you don't mix paste in your jar. When I have used, I'm kind of backtracking to the wax, when I've used a wax applicator, try to put it back in the little baggie it comes in to keep the wax from drying out too much. And then it just makes the applicator kind of hard to use. I mean, they're washable, so. So I don't know that that has to be completely dry. Just want it dry enough that it's not going to completely smear. And here it goes. So we're going to take the crackle and just apply it over chalk paste. And like I said, my gut is telling me that this is not going to work because this paste is not wet. I'm going to hold this high enough so that it's not messing with my paint underneath, which it's already doing. Already got some bubbles. And actually, I don't know that it's the paint itself bubbling, or if it's actually the crackle bubbling. Okay, so that's not working, and if I keep going, I'm just gonna mess it up. So you probably really can't tell in the video. I don't know if I can hold it at the right angle. I've got bubbles there, but it really looks like it's the crackle bubbling, not the paint. So that's interesting. Now once that dries, again, I should be able to sand that down a little bit and paint over it and reuse the surface. So that's, you know, not a big deal, and probably kind of try to recreate that. But what I might end up doing is then putting some crackle on it and actually doing what I wanted. And, you know, now that I'm sort of in for a penny, in for a pound here, and I've got this white paint just sitting here, and this is pretty dry, just going to spread this white paint over this. I'm just curious. I've made several messes here today, so again, I think that the issue here was the metallic. I think that just did not want to crackle for me. But what I don't know is if this white will on top of that metallic. Maybe a little bit. I got a bubble in my paint there. Okay. So we're getting some crackle in that white, actually, a decent amount if I can keep it from bubbling the paint. If you all can see, I'll hold it up closer to the camera. But I am actually starting to get some good effect in that. Now, what's tricky is there are some places where the crackle is just not wanting to dry, like the I don't know what it is, I guess it's an additive, it's just not wanting to dry. If I get my heat gun too close to it, the heat tool too close to it, it's gonna bubbling, it's bubbling my paint. But for the additive to do what it's supposed to do, is heat. Now, part of that could have been because that purple underneath wasn't all the way dry, wasn't dry enough. And so that might be why I'm getting some bubbles, some bubbling. And why I still think part of the issue is the metallic paint. I think there might just be something in that that's different than anything else. Than just a regular coat. Ooh, that is. Okay. We're going to stop there because all it's doing now is bubbling. But we got some really good texture right in there. So what I can do with this is I can let it dry completely. I can sand it, paint over it, and then you know, try to add some more layers, which I can also do the same with this, but the crackle on this is not completely dry, so we're going to have to let that play out that way. I'm gonna tilt my video. Okay, so the one thing I know is that Mod Podge, when you're doing this with Mod Podge, it dries much faster. Okay, well, that was an adventure. So thank you for watching. For those who joined me live, I am gonna take this and edit it down and repost it for anybody who's watching on the replay, so that people just see kind of. I won't edit out completely what didn't work because I think people need to see what didn't work. But so we have a little bit more of a. I'm gonna leave the live up, but I'm gonna add an edited version of it so people can see a little bit more of what actually worked. So next Friday's video, that'll be pre-recorded. I'm going to be out of town for a couple of weeks, but I've got some videos coming. Next Friday's is going to be, we're actually going to make some cards with paper scraps and some Scrappy Boy stamps, papers and die cuts, and I'm feeling ambitious, might do some stamping and coloring with some alcohol markers. The one after that, what was I going to do after that? Oh, one of the two of the next is going to be paper crafting and chalk. So we're going to do some things with oxide ink and chalk slate paper and paper crafting. So that might be a card one again too, just because it's an easy medium to use to show all those things. And then the last Friday in July will be something Christmas, because you know, Christmas in July, and that will be back live. So thank you for watching. Would love any feedback on on the project, or any ideas or requests in the comments. I really value and appreciate your time, and I hope you all have a great Friday.